Hello, everyone, and welcome to the library on this Friday night. Let's get started with our usual intro, and then we'll get right into the story. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my library. So glad all of you can join me this evening. Tonight, Lenny is back, as you can see. I'm happy to see that. He was absent last week. I don't know. I guess he was busy, but he is back, right, Lenny? It makes me feel more confident in my stories when Lenny is here. But anyway, let me just start by saying hello to everyone that have graced me with their presence. So thank you so much for joining. Patrick Ortega, Delilah, Cinnamon Girl 2, as always, is here. Thank you for being here. Kelly, Bobo in the house, Tommy Stiggs, Fancy Nancy is here. Did I miss anyone? Arlene Morlino, good to see you. Delilah, I said hello to, right? All right, I'm hitting everybody. I'm getting everybody acknowledged. But thank you all. Gina, good to see you. Let's hope that Osada joins us, because Osada's the second part of the program. I billed him as the second part of the program, so we'll see what happens. If not, no big deal. We'll figure something out, or we'll just go end shorter than expected. So let's start by lighting our candles, as always. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. Hi, Sweet Tea. Good to see you. I got to shut this fan off, otherwise these are going to blow in my face. All right. Now let's shut this light off. There we go. That's much better. And let's shut this down a bit here. Let's shut this fan off. All right. Now, Maine. Ghost Stories of Maine. Now, tonight we're going to specifically talk about ghosts from the Maine shoreline. Because as I was researching this, I found out there is a lot of ghost activity that's dealt with directly the shore, the Maine shore. And when you think of Maine, a lot of times you don't think of it as a shore area, or even though Portland, Maine is a big lobster thing. That's where the best lobster comes from fishermen. But there's actually 228 miles of coastland in Maine. And it's a jagged, rockety coast for the most part, which makes it a very dangerous area for ships. Traditionally, it's always been a dangerous area. And there's always been a lot of crashes and tragedies that happened because of that. And this is an interesting fact I found out, that even though there's 228 miles of coastline, if you measure all the jagged in and outs of the coastline, because it's tons of it, it's very jagged. It goes in and out all over the place, all these different little turns and cuts in and everything like that. It measures to be actually 3,000 miles, 3,478 miles, where tidal waters touch the shoreline, which is fascinating to me. Why anyone would even measure that, but that's what it actually comes out to be, which is actually longer than California's coastline if you measure every little nook and cranny. So just an interesting trivia fact for that. Hello, Deborah Roberts. Thank you for joining. Good to see you. So obviously, when you have this type of environment, this type of coastline, and a big shipping history, good fishing history, et cetera, you're bound to have these legends that deal directly with the sea and the shoreline. And there's a bunch of them. So that's what we're going to focus on today. I have 7 of them specifically that I want to talk about, I want to chat about. And then maybe in the future, I'll do some additional stories about inland ghosts, like other traditional haunted houses, et cetera, and stuff like that in Maine. But tonight, we're just going to concentrate on that. Hello, Gianni, my friend. Good to see you. All right. Now, the first ghost activity I want to touch on is something that's called the ghostly naval battle. Now, back in September 5th of 1813, there was a naval battle during the War of 1812 between an American ship and a British ship. It was the middle of the war. Well, it's actually towards the end of the war. No, it's right in the middle of the war, September 1813. And if you are not familiar with the War of 1812, a lot of people are not. I was always surprised at that. But it was a war between the United States and Britain. And it had to do with a lot of different issues, mainly that the British were kidnapping our American sailors and pressing them into service. But it also was an attempt by England to take the colonies back. And people don't really focus on that and how important it was, that war. It basically established us as our independent state, even though we had one independence in 1776, and after 1783, when the treaty was signed, we still were not really treated on the world stage as an independent power, independent country that was to be a trade power. After the War of 1812, where we beat back the British, we gained that status. So it's a very important, pivotal part in American history. And this battle in particular was one of the few naval battles that the United States won. At that time, we did not have a big navy. We were not prepared for that war at all. So this one kind of turned the tide a little bit, because we were losing battles constantly on the ship, in the sea battles. And this one we actually won. And it was the USS Enterprise, captained by Lieutenant William Burroughs, who fought the HMS Boxer. HMS means Her Majesty's, or His Majesty's ship at the time, Boxer. And the commander, Samuel Blythe, was the commander there. Well, this battle raged on for about a half an hour. Now, that is a long sea battle for just 2 ships. It was just 2 ships battling back and forth, cannon fire, musket fire, etc. And how it goes is Blythe, the British commander, was killed in the first shots of the battle by a cannonball. It hit him and killed him instantly. So the British captain is out of the battle. The American captain, towards the end of the battle, gets shot through the leg by a musket ball, which tears open his legs, and he eventually bleeds to death. So as a result, both captains die in this battle. Ultimately, the Americans win, and they capture the British ship, and they take it in as a prize. But as a result of this, it seems that these two captains, these two ghosts of these captains, seem to be reliving this battle over and over and over on the shores off the shores of Maine, where it happened. And that many say that it's right off the side of Portland, not far from Portland. And in fact, both of the bodies of these two captains were buried together in a cemetery in East Portland. So they were kind of linked for eternity just by that, the way they died, as well as where their final resting places were. And people say on a moonlit night, when it's especially foggy out, if you look out over the ocean, you will see flashes of lights, and that flashing of lights is the cannons of these ghost ships fighting, fully stocked with fully ghost sailors, fighting this battle over and over again. And that many a ship in the late night have said they've encountered this battle and thought it was an active encounter that was happening, but turns out it's just the residual haunt of these ghostly figures. And I'll show you a rendition of a painting of this battle that was created, if I can. I think I have it in here somewhere. I have a lot of pictures to show you guys tonight. So I just wanted to. Here we go. I think this is it. This is a painting of this specific battle. Let me put it on full screen for you so you can take a look. It's not that big of a picture, but this is what this is the U.S. ship, and that's the British ship, and you could see the cannon fire going back and forth, the smoke of the cannon fire. Ultimately, the British ship is getting beaten here. You see, it's kind of its masks are collapsing from the cannon fire, and eventually they lose the battle and are captured. And supposedly this is what people see happening out in the ocean on a moonlit yet foggy night. Kind of interesting. I would love to see that. If that is actually happening, I'd love to see that. It would be kind of like watching living history right there before your eyes. So, but never any real encounters with people or interaction with people. So my guess, it's a residual type of haunt. It's just something that's playing over and over again out there for hundreds of years. So that's our first story for tonight. Hello, Spirit. Good to see you. Hello, Thenu, my brother. Good to see you also. Edwin, sir. God bless you, as always. Thank you for stopping in and saying hi. So that's our first ghost. There's actually two ghosts. There are actually a lot more than two ghosts. There was whole ship crews of ghosts there in that ghostly battle between the USS Enterprise and His Majesty's ship Boxer. That happened in 1813. All right, that's number one. Number two deals with a ghost schooner by the name of Dash. Now, schooner is a type of boat. It's a lean boat. And again, this harkens back to the War of 1812. Now, the schooner, the Dash, it was called the Dash, was built specifically to run the British blockade. Now, during the war, one of Britain's main strategy was to blockade the United States. So they would set out their ships, because obviously they had the biggest navy in the world. They would send their ships out and blockade our coastal sea lines and our ports so that we could not trade. We could not trade with the French. We could not trade with other countries, etc. So this schooner was designed to run that blockade. It was leaner and quicker. It was said to be the fastest ship at the time. So this ship, and actually got into a few battles itself and actually won a few battles. But in 1815, the schooner went out on its traditional attempt to run the blockade. It was something that it would do routinely. Thank you, Thenu, my brother. Unnecessary, but thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That is awesome. So it goes out to run the blockade, and it never comes back. No one ever sees the Dash schooner again, or the crew members, anything. They're just gone into history, and nobody knows what happens. Now, over the years, people have sworn they have spotted the schooner Dash. And some have said they have come so close to this boat that they were able to see the Dash, written on the side of it. I have a picture, or it's an artist's rendition, obviously, because we're talking about 1815. I have a picture of what it looks like, or what it looked like, the Dash, if I can find it real quick through all of this that I have up here. Where is my Dash picture? Hold on. Anyway, maybe I don't have it up. That's not cool. Oh, here it is. Here's the picture of what the Dash looked like. And this actually it's not a picture, it's a painting. And it's a painting or an artist's rendition of the Dash when it was capturing a British ship. And you can see the British flag is on the lower side, but you have to look to the top for the American flag. It's hanging high up there. But this is what it looked like. And this vanishes. Now, people say that they see this ship occasionally on the horizon out in the ocean. And the eerie part of this is that whenever this ship appears, it is considered a tiding of bad or negative or bad times to come. In fact, people allege that if you have the misfortune of seeing the Dash, you will encounter a death in your family in the near future. So that's pretty harsh type of bad luck there. Now, whether it's bad luck or whether it's just some type of warning that it's coming, I don't know the difference there. If it's necessarily I don't think it's necessarily causing the death. I think it's this ghostly encounter is something paranormal that warns you of negative stuff to come. But people have said that they have seen the Dash on the horizon, coming over the horizon late at night, and then suddenly it'll vanish. And then in the near future, unfortunately, they'll lose someone in their family. So that's pretty grim and negative, but that's what the tale goes. That's how the legend goes of the schooner Dash. All right. Now let's get back onto our next story. Now, the third story is about a lighthouse. Now, if you know Maine, or if you know of Maine, you'll know there's a lot of lighthouses on that jaggedy coastline because it's crucial. And if those lighthouses weren't there, there'd be a lot more accidents, a lot more deaths. So we have a coastline that's full with very old lighthouses, which lend themselves to ghostly paranormal activity. So it's a ghost hunter's paradise, so to speak, going from one of these to the next. Let me see something. Did I miss anybody coming in? TT Rod is here. Thank you, TT. I want everyone to go into TT's after the show. We will be done in plenty of time. Go on to TT's. I think it's trivia, or usually trivia, right? Or it's just Hangout Friday. I don't know. Whatever it is, that's where I'll be going after the show. So I want everybody else to do that as well. All right. So we're going to talk about the lighthouse off of Burnt Island, BURNT, Burnt Island. Now, let me show you what that lighthouse looks like. I, for one, love looking at these lighthouses. I think they're beautiful, especially against the coastline, and I love the architecture of it. Some of them are simple, some of them are not so simple, but let me see which one is Burnt Island, because I have a bunch of them coming up. So that's what's coming up soon here. Where is the burnt one? The burnt one. Hold on, I'll find it. I will find it. All right, that's not it. Here we go. Got it. Well, here's Burnt Island. Let's show you that first. Here's what Burnt Island looks like off the coast of Maine. Let me put that on full screen. It's kind of it's kind of a creepy island. It's so small, yet it's wooded. It has all of these pines on it, and I guess that makes sense since they call Maine the pine tree state. So maybe that kind of makes sense. But the buildings you see here are the lighthouse, the lighthouse complex here on this wooded island. All right, now let's see if I can show you a close-up of the actual island. Of the lighthouse, I'm sorry. Here we go. No, that's not it. That is not it. I don't know. Maybe I didn't have this one. Anyway, all right. Well, I think this is it. I think this is Burnt Island. Now, this is interesting because this lighthouse, it's kind of small, right? But this walkway between the lighthouse and the house of the lightkeeper, where he lives, is said to have the most activity of ghostly encounters. And the story goes that this particular walkway is haunted by the ghost of a previous. Let me get back to here. Let me get back to you. Hold on here. Of a previous lightkeeper, spirit of a previous lightkeeper, and the encounters usually happen at 2 a.m. in the morning. Now, the story goes that the ghost really shows himself in an attempt to aid or help the current lightkeeper at the time. It is said that one night at 2 a.m., the lightkeeper had gone to bed and forgot to turn on the system or shut down the system, what have you. It wasn't working. And he was awoken by his name being screamed at him in the middle of the night at 2 a.m., screaming at him by name to get up and tend to the lighthouse. And it's a good thing this happened because he found out that he forgot, or whatever he did, he didn't do it correctly. The light was not working. And in the distance, he saw a ship was approaching. So this ghost, this spirit of this old lighthouse keeper, woke up the current lighthouse keeper in an effort to save this particular ship from crashing against the rocks on Burnt Island. So kind of a positive story. And it is said that this has happened multiple times, that whoever the lighthouse keeper, as it's gone year after year, after it changes hands, a lighthouse keeper usually don't last that long. They usually pass it on to other people because, it's a lonely life. So people do it for just a certain amount of time and they pass it on. They find a successor. Well, multiple lighthouse keepers have reported this type of activity, being woken up in the middle of the night by their name being screamed in the hall between the lighthouse and where they sleep, and that it always resulted in something they had to do or something they forgot to do. So it's really a positive ghost, if you ask me, that's doing this. It's helping things out and trying to make sure this thing doesn't happen, make sure tragedy doesn't happen. Hello, William. I didn't see you. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. Yes, please hit the like button if you would. I don't have my banner up. What's that all about? Let me show my banner. Here's my banner where it says, please hit the like button. All right, so that's our third story, which was Burnt Island. Now, on to number 4. Now, number 4 is not really a ghost. It's a monster, I guess. A cryptoid or crypnoid, whatever you call those things. But there is a legend that Casco Bay, off of the coast of Maine, is inhabited by a sea monster by the name of Cassie, Cassie. Now, this sea serpent type of monster has been spotted, and there's been accounts of seeing it going back as far as 1779, if you can believe that. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. Is there something there that's breeding, and reproducing all these hundreds of years? But it's said to be 100 feet long and kind of like the Loch Ness Monster. Everybody's familiar with the Loch Ness Monster. This one has, it's similar. It has a long neck like a brontosaurus that sticks out, and it has, but it has serpentine body, like a long serpentine body. Now, I did find a picture of something that's been claimed to be, that has been claimed to be Cassie. So I'm going to show you the picture, and then you judge for yourself if you think this is a sea monster or what it is. I don't know. But here it is. All right. Where is my sea monster picture? It is coming up. Hold on. Staying with me. Here it is. All right. This is said to be two humps connected to, part of one animal, two humps in the bay, in Casco Bay, that are unexplainable. That there wasn't anything floating there, that they came up and then they both disappeared into the water. So who knows? Hello, Rebecca McGuire. Good to see you. Hi, Kelly. I think I said hello to you, Kelly, but if I didn't, I'm sorry. I'm saying hello now if I didn't. But yeah, so this is what Cassie supposedly looks like. I don't know. But as a kid, I always loved the Loch Ness Monster and the Loch Ness Monster stories. And I'd watch it on In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy. I remember that. So I just thought this was an interesting little tale off the coast of Maine that still, from time to time, has been cited. People claiming they see Cassie, the sea serpent or sea monster. All right, so that's that. That was number 4. Now, let's go on to number 5. Now, I think, in my opinion, the stories get better. I leave the best for last. You could be the judge always, and you should be the judge for yourself. But all right, now number 5 is the woman in white. Now, this is a phenomenon that you see all over the place. The woman in white, the lady in white. It's always a ghostly woman wearing white for various reasons. Now, this one is also another positive ghost. A ghost, a benevolent ghost, someone trying to do good, trying to help mankind. Because the story goes that this is off of Ram Island. On Ram Island, it's also in Casco Bay where Cassie is. There's an island there. It's called Ram Island. And she is out there on the rocks wearing all white and glowing. And it's said that at night, when she appears, she begins to wave her arms and she glow with a glowing white light. And in essence, she effectively acts as a lighthouse to warn away ships. And supposedly this phenomenon was happening well before there was a lighthouse there. And the story goes that this woman was the ghost of a wife of a sailor who was impatiently waiting for her beloved to return. And one night when he was about to return, it was so foggy, a sudden storm came by, and as a result of that storm, there was a sudden unpredictable fog. This was in the 1800s, early 1800s, so it's before the lighthouse was even built there. So she was out on the rocks trying her best to warn her beloved of where the island is, or where the rock was, and that she was out there lighting a fire, and she lit several fires. But unfortunately, what happened in the process was that the storm kicked up again, and she was taken into the water. After she lit her fire, the water came and a wave came and washed her into the ocean, and she drowned. And it's said that her ghost is still there, trying to warn away ships, because this is something she tried to do in life. She tried to do it for her husband, and she's doing it for eternity. Now, there is a lighthouse there now, so she's not necessarily needed. And I'll show you a picture. Obviously, there's no picture of her, because she was before pictures. She was in the early 1800s. But let me show you an artist's rendition of what she looks like, because it does give a good it gives a good rendition of what I'm talking about. I thought it was a good picture. So here, let me show you what it looks like. 1 second. It's kind of a cool picture, I think, if I can find it. Here we go. As you can see, the woman, is wearing a white gown, and it's kind of glowing, and she's standing out on the edge there of the hill that overlooks the rocks below, and she's basically using her light, her ghostly power, to ward off and warn any wary ship that they would be coming too close to the jagged rocks and perishing. So, a benevolent ghost, the lady in white. So we thank her for her service, and I'd love to see her myself out there in Ram Island on Casco Bay. Casco Bay. All right, let's get rid of that. I thought I had a picture of, but I guess I don't. I don't think I have a picture of Ram Island, but who cares? You don't need to see Ram Island anyway. All right, so now let's go on to the next story. The sixth story is a woman in red. Now, this takes place at a place called Pemaquid Point Lighthouse. Pemaquid, Pemaquid, Point Lighthouse. And the woman in red. Now, this woman's spirit is wearing a red, like a bright red cloak. And she is said to be, people tend to see her manifest in front of the hearth, meaning the fireplace, of the lighthouse keeper's house. And she always appears in this red gown and this red cloak, and she appears to be soaking wet and shivering from the cold and looking for warmth. And they think that's why she seems to appear in front of the hearth, where the fire is going. This particular place is now a museum. It's a fisherman's museum. So the lighthouse itself is still operational. It's automated. However, the lighthouse keeper's house was turned into a museum. So there's no lighthouse keeper living there anymore, but it's a museum. And from time to time, people will see, the ghost of the woman in red. Now, there's a story that goes along with this that happened in the 1950s. Before this was a museum, there was still an active lighthouse keeper there. And it was one night, it was a rainy, stormy night in the 1950s. And this couple was out on their yacht, or their, I don't know, it's a pleasure boat. I don't know if it was a yacht per se, but they were out later than they should have been. And they ended up getting lost. So they saw the lighthouse, and they made their way back to where the lighthouse was. Their boat was not in the best condition, so they docked it or pulled it ashore, docked it as best they can, and they made their way to the lighthouse, looking for help, looking for shelter, because it was stormy, getting bad weather. They couldn't proceed on, so they were looking for shelter. So they go to the lighthouse door, the lighthouse keeper's door. They knock on it, and the door slowly opens, and they're greeted by this woman wearing a red cloak. And again, they notice that she's soaking wet, much like, and, she invites them in and says, please come in and get yourself warm. And they ask her, miss, what, you're soaking wet? And she said, yes, my boat recently hit the rocks and sunk, and I swam ashore the best I could, and I'm just trying to get dry and warm. So the woman was dressed, kind of like an old time, a red type of cloak, but they didn't think anything of it. They figured, okay, this woman swam ashore, she must have ran into the same trouble why we've had with the storm. And so as they do that, they come into the house, they sit down, the woman returns to the hearth to get warm, and then suddenly they hear a noise. The couple hears a noise, and it's the lighthouse keeper returning. And as soon as the lighthouse keeper comes through the walkway into the living room area, the woman vanishes right before their very eyes. So the spirit was there, and thus, as soon as the light keeper came, I don't know why, but she just kind of vanished into thin air. So needless to say, the couple was shocked beyond belief, and at that point, they question the lighthouse keeper, and the lighthouse keeper tells them the story of how from time to time this woman in red will manifest. The spirit of this woman in red will manifest, and no one knows where she came from or why she's there, why her spirit's there. And it's interesting how the couple tells the light keeper what the spirit told them, how she was in a boat and it crashed, it sunk off of the reef, and that she swam ashore. So they kind of learned a little bit, the lighthouse keeper, who had seen the spirit before and had others speak of the spirit, but never knew the reason behind, the kind of origin story. So that was kind of cool. I thought that this random couple kind of interacted and spoke with the spirit and was able to obtain the origin story of where she came from. So that's the woman in red, and that's off of Pennaquit Point Lighthouse. And I do have a picture of Pennaquit Point Lighthouse that I wanted to show you, just for the sake of, there's no ghost in the picture, obviously, but I think it's worth looking at. There we go. This is what the lighthouse looks like. A typical beautiful shoreline lighthouse. And that house where the flags are, that's where the ghost would mostly manifest in that building. So kind of cool, if you ask me. All right. Now, our final story, which is number 7, is to me the most interesting and the most creepy, I guess. Now, this has to deal with Sequin Island Lighthouse. Sequin Island Lighthouse. Let me close some of these windows out because it'll be easier for me to show you what I'm looking at here. All right, that's Burnt Island. We don't need Burnt Island anymore. All right, goodbye, Burnt Island. Take a hike. All right. Now, Sequin Island is the second oldest lighthouse in Maine, so it's pretty old. Early 1800s, before the War of 1812, they think there was some form of lighthouse here. Now, it was originally housed by a veteran of the Revolutionary War. So there was this Hungarian man who fought with the French when the French came to help us during the Revolutionary War, and he stayed and settled here, and he established a lighthouse, and he was the first lighthouse keeper. And it's said that his spirit, now there's 3 spirits in this lighthouse that I want to talk to you about. He's considered the old captain, and that's because his appearance is of that of a sea captain. Now, people say they see him climbing from time to time. They'll see him climbing the ladder of the stairs, climbing the stairs to the lighthouse. Not very interactive. No one has ever said they've spoken to him or anything like that. He more of appears and vanishes. But there's also a lot of activity with things being thrown around or moved around. And in the late, I think the late 60s or early 70s, they were working on renovating this place, and as a result, they were moving furniture out, doing whatever they're supposed to do, automating the lighthouse again. A lot of these became automated in the 60s and 70s. So they were automating the lighthouse. There was a crew working there, and they were moving out some of the furniture. Now, it seems the old captain was not too happy with his furniture being taken away, because the foreman, it took more than one day to do this, so they were sleeping on the island. And the foreman swears that he was woken up in the middle of the night by the old captain himself, shaking him and telling him, "Don't take my furniture. That's my furniture. I must have my furniture. Don't take my furniture." Um, Now, obviously, the foreman didn't have a choice here. He was just doing a job. So he continues to do this. And the next day, when they're loading up the furniture and they're moving it out, they're bringing it over to the boat, to the boats or the ships to get it off the island. Um, a line suddenly breaks. The net that was containing all of the furniture lets go, and all of the furniture smashes into pieces on the rocks below. Was it the old captain that was kind of annoyed that his instructions were not followed, and he was not going to lose his furniture to anyone, I guess. So that's the story about the old captain. The second story is about a little girl. Nobody knows the origin of this, but they see a little girl running around. Hello, Don McHugh. How are you? Good to see you. A little girl running around happily, and it's said that she runs and plays on the island, possibly died on the island of some type of disease, because some people say they see the spirit, usually laughing and playing, but from time to time will cough. So they think she may have died of some type of respiratory disease, but she's little and a very pleasant spirit for the most part. And now the final spirit is the creepiest, because it's based on a true story that happened there in the early 1800s, when the lighthouse, after the old captain died, it was passed on to this next person, and this person lived on the island with his wife alone. So one year he decided he was going to buy his wife a present, and he buys her a piano because she knew how to play the piano. And he figured, this would be something to tide them through the winters where it gets cold and lonely there. There's not much interaction with the outside world. And she loves the piano. In fact, she begins to play it. Now, the only problem is that the piano, that his wife only knew how to read sheet music. And they only had the sheet music for one song. So she would play this song over and over and over and over. And it got to the point where the lighthouse keeper became so enraged and obsessed with this song that he couldn't stand it anymore. And he would write in his journal how he couldn't take this song being played over and over and over. And if it did not stop, he was going to destroy the piano. So, needless to say, things happened. She continued to play the song. He asked her never to play it again. She refused. And one night, as she's playing the piano, he takes out an axe and starts hammering the piano and destroying the piano, every bit and piece of it. His wife, in such a surprise and such a tantrum or did her best to try to stop this, because this piano was her life. She wanted to play this. That's all she cared about doing, is playing it. So she attempts to stop him, and in the process he kills his wife and axes her, kills her with the axe. So he doesn't, as a result, he has killed his wife. Now, was it momentary insanity, or who knows? But the fact is that she was dead, and as a result, he knew his life was over. At the time, he was as soon as they found out this happened, he would be hanged for murder. So he chose to end his own life by jumping off the rocks and crashing and drowning in the water. So a big tragedy that happens there, and as a result of that, it is said that there is the sound of piano playing that's heard every night on this island, and there is no piano on the island. Now, no one has ever seen the axe guy his ghost or anything like that, but it's basically the ghost of the wife playing the piano over and over and over, and it can be heard. The tune can be heard over the waves and echoing through the island. Now I'll show you a picture of what the island looks like. What the lighthouse looks like. Hold on, here we go. Here's what the lighthouse looks like. Quite a nice view there. You know, it's a quaint, beautiful view over the blue ocean, and that's what Sequin Island Lighthouse looks like. So there you have it, haunted by three spirits, and that's our seventh and final ghost story of mine for the evening. So there you have it. I thought they were quite interesting stories. Hello, Todd Father. Good to see you. I don't know if I missed anyone else. Bella is here. How are you? Is it Bella? Yeah, I think I see Bella. Hi, Bella. How are you? Good to see you. So, Osada is here, I think. I saw him. Yeah, he's here. So, Osada, I'm going to drop the link, and then we can move on to you can tell us what happened with the haunted market, your experience with the haunted market. So hold on one second. Let me drop the link. This is for Osada Treats. All right. I think it's in there. There it is in the chat. And I'm going to pin it. So Osada, if you could please click on that and come up. In the meantime, I'm going to eat some popcorn, guys, while we wait. There he is. That was quick. All right. Hold on. Here we go.
Hello.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah. I can hear you fine.
Okay, good. I never know on this phone. The farmer's market is awesome. I love it.
Yeah. What happened? Tell us the story. You mentioned to me that you ended up at the beginning them trying to shut you out of it.
But it was amazing. There's all kinds of cool stuff down there. I think people walking around with coffins, and I don't know exactly what they were. I think they were like something you could hang on the wall to put like little candles and knickknacks on, but it's the shape of a coffin, but it's a shelf type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. I had a problem with the health department. My Hannibal Lecter animatronic blew over in the wind and broke the head off.
No.
Yeah, but I already figured out how to fix it. I haven't fixed them yet, but I'm going to fix them, so not a big deal.
So let me just for anyone who wasn't here the last time when we talked about this, Osada got in on this market, this haunted market that this lady in Washington put together, and it seems to be a big hit. And he signed up for it and went there to sell Halloween and creepy and spooky themed items. So it sounds like something that would be right up my alley. I think I'd love it, and so I'm glad to see that you liked it. That it was worth the effort.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it goes every other weekend all the way through November, and it's only going to get bigger. I've seen this post on Facebook where I don't know if they're from Tacoma or not, but there's these two girls that have a haunted podcast where they tell I guess they tell ghost stories and stuff like that. I've never actually listened to them. I'll get you the name of them, and they're going to be down there on the next event on the 20th. And they want people to come down and tell them their ghost stories. And I think they're going to tell them on their podcast or whatever.
Awesome. That's great.
It's really cool. There's a lot of people everywhere that I go. I thought I was going to take the scary characters off of my snow cone flavors for my other events. I've already done 6 other events since the farmers market, but I just decided to leave them on there because everybody loves them and everybody knows about that farmers market around here now. So
that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
I'm pretty excited about it. It wasn't as much money as I thought it was going to be, money wise, but it never is. So
Yeah,
But
well, I think as you get closer to Halloween, that'll be more popular. It just makes sense, right? And there'll be more people looking to buy stuff. Um,
yeah, 100%. And I think it's going to catch on to where it's going to take off, and hopefully they find a better location. I mean, they closed the street down, which is fine, but I think that this market would do better in a different town where they had more money. Tacoma, kind of like, it's just a trashy town.
oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, if it was
Is it like, what is it like there? Is it like a rural area, or is it like a city area where they have this?
Tacoma is city. Tacoma is city. It's got a melting pot of people.
Mhm.
A lot of crime. It's probably a lot like the East Coast of liberal states. The West Coast is the same thing.
Yeah.
But we have towns here. A lot of the events that I do are in little country towns, and they all have money. They're all pro-Trump type of people. Not to go political, but they're that type of mentality. That's the people that I like to be around. Those type of people.
Right.
So that's But for this haunted farmers market, I make an exception. In fact, I always say that I never sell my strawberries in Tacoma, but I made an exception for this event. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it makes more sense for this type of event to be in a rural area. You would think it would attract more people that are interested in this type of theme. But
yeah, yeah. And the people that run it, it's a younger couple, and they're really nice. They look like they're probably, man, she might even be in her late 20s, early 30s at the latest. Yeah, but they're really smart, and they're hustlers, they're go-getters. I mean, I love them. So we just clicked right away when we started talking. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I don't know. I wish I had a little bit more to share, but I was so busy. I didn't have a time. I couldn't even tell you what people are selling other than what I seen walk by my stand. I didn't have a chance to go out and walk around. So hopefully I can bring somebody with me on the next one, and I'll be able to take a little video and give you a little bit better update next time.
Yeah, that'd be really cool, because I remember like when I was young, we, a friend of mine and I used to do these baseball card shows, and one of us would stay with the table, and the other person would go around and do a tour of the place and see what was there, see what our competition was, and and see what we could pick up. So it's always good to have somebody else with you.
Yeah, no. One of my favorite things to do is to take some of my products around and trade with people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get some amazing stuff that I would never spend my own money on, normally, but because they're willing to trade, like CBD products and I got a knife from somebody, or a cheese board, just all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to get some stuff like that. But, I don't know if you've seen my storage unit. I think you did. There's not a lot of room in there for any more stuff. So I got to be careful with that kind of stuff. But.
So what'll happen with Hannibal now? Is he done for, or can you fix him?
No, I can fix him.
Okay.
So the head completely broke off. So it's going to be, and the way that it goes on, it slides into two like electrical connections. And so this little block piece snapped off. I got to glue him on. And then while I'm at it, it already didn't work. I mean, he made the sounds, he said his sayings, but his mask didn't come down all the way. His eyes weren't moving. And then he's supposed to turn side to side. So that video explained how to fix all of that. While I'm doing the head, I'm going to fix everything at the same time. So.
Cool. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And then I think I'm not going to bring those guys back out anymore, because it's not really worth it. I mean, people love to look at them, but it didn't really, I didn't really feel like it was a showstopper for them to decide whether they were going to get the lemon. It was so hot that they were lemonade snow cone. I mean, I burned through the snow cones at that event. It was a good event. I mean, it could have been better, but because I had to spend an hour, I got shut down by the health department for the first hour. I don't know if I told you that or not.
Yeah, why is that? Why did that happen?
So you're supposed to have a clean water station, which is basically just a 5-gallon bucket that has a water spigot that's hands free, so the water comes out where it's just hands free, and then soap and paper towels, and the water has to be hot. Well, I bought a hot water station off Amazon, and I've used it at other events like the Tacoma Dome, and I've had the same Pierce County Health Department sign off on it in the Tacoma Dome 2 years in a row, actually. And then for whatever reason, it's a different lady comes to this market, and she's like, "Oh, is that your clean water station?" She's like, "That's not insulated." And I was like, "Oh, it's got to be insulated." She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "I can't let you sell." Like, she was all like, she's like, "Oh, I can't let you sell." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "This is all I got is ice here. I got gloves." I was like, "It's 100 degrees outside anyways. I mean, how hot do we need the water to be?" "Oh no, this is a do not pass go," she says. I'm like, "Oh, fuck."
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, and then I look online. It's 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. There's no place to get this bucket. The couple places that would have it aren't open yet, and they don't have them in stock. But finally, I find one at Lowe's, which is just a little igloo, like Gatorade type of thing. But she says that'll work as long as I can switch out the spigot with the one that I had, which everything worked out. It took like 45 minutes to go to the store and get everything I needed, and she was still waiting there when I came back. So, but she signed off on me finally.
Leave it to a bureaucrat. Leave it to them. Leave it to them too. How ridiculous. Well,
yeah. Well, it's at this point, I've been doing it for 3.5 years now. It doesn't really faze me anymore. Like, I was upset because I knew I was losing money, but I wasn't like, beyond. I was just like, well, So.
I mean, you can't let it get to you because you'll go nuts.
No.
I get it. I get
exactly. But it's a lot of fun. Those are the people that come down there are my type of people. People that are just Halloween all year type of people. You get a lot of people dressed in black. You got a lot of people with tattoos and boots and, just eccentric type of people, or whatever the word is, eclectic, eccentric.
Sure.
Yeah.
Eclectic type
eclectic.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And then on a side note, I got a chance to get into a fine dining restaurant. I'm working on that right now. I did an event this morning for the Puyallup Tribe, and they just opened up a fine dining restaurant on the Tacoma waterfront called Woven. And they hired a Japanese head chef to run the place. And, my stepdad was Japanese. So I'm politicking with those guys right now to try to get my chocolate strawberries and devil strawberries.
Nice.
In their restaurant. Yeah. And they're interested.
Would you be like a dessert on the menu, or would you like set up a stand, or like how would that work?
Well, that's what I'm going to try to work out with them. I could easily just bring the stuff down there, and then, it's just on the menu and they could sell it. What I want to do for special occasions is find a place where I could like set up inside the restaurant and just have my own little dessert station. Yeah. I really want to do that somewhere too, but I think for the most part, the most profitable will be just dropping it off and it's on the menu.
Yeah. Well, look, whatever they do, whatever they let you do, go with. That's what I would do. Whatever way they want it, that's what you go with.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. But yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on. That's great. I'm glad glad you enjoyed it, and keep us informed of what's next. Obviously, what the next one is and how that goes. I'd be interested to find out.
Yeah, for sure. I'll try to at least take some photos, and that way I can text them to you, so you can at least have some pictures to reference it next time we talk or whatever.
All right, awesome.
Cool. Well, happy Friday. Have a good night.
Yep. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too.
All right, now that was pretty cool to hear that update on the haunted market, and I always love to hear our friends being successful, in their businesses. That's awesome. We all want our group to be successful. If we don't help each other, who does? So we all wish Osada the very best and hope he hits the ball out of the park on whatever's next in these business endeavors. So, but anyway, with that, I'm going to wrap this up. I think this was a cool night. We were up in the Maine area on the Maine shoreline, and I thank each and every one of you for joining me and hanging out and listening. And even Lenny says, thank you for joining. But for now, I'd say hit the like button. As always, build the guild, and stay scared as I blow out the candles. I love you all. Thank you. Appreciate you. God bless. Have a wonderful night. And oops, go over to TT. Go over to TT. Don't remember. Remember, go over to TT next. Go visit TT next. Have a great one. I can't blow out this candle. This show won't end. What's going on here?